Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about underrated books. So this is going to be either books that I haven't heard people talking about and that's why I think they're underrated, or books that are well known and I just think that they aren't appreciated or understood to their full extent. So I have about 4 or 5 books for each and I'm really excited for this. I love discovering new unknown books, niche books. I think it's such a special genre because writing is a craft that you can't really look at what's popular and what isn't popular to determine whether it's good or not, because it is so easy for an incredible piece of literature to just go under the radar. I will say this pile of books isn't as niche as I would like it to be, but I am only recently developing the skill of being able to recognize if a book is going to be good or not, and I know it's impossible to fully achieve that, but I have so many unknown books that I've read that have turned out to be horrible. That was a bit of a complicated introduction, but I'm definitely trying to get into more underrated and unknown books, and if you guys have any recommendations, please let me know. Before I start, I want to say please make sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to be posting every week from now on, and as I said in previous videos, I want to widen my range, so I'm not just going to be doing recommendation videos like this, but I'm also going to be doing more writing related videos, maybe writing vlogs and video essays. Those do take some more time though, so I will hopefully start doing more niche videos in the summer because I am going to be swamped with studying for the next couple months, but I'm still going to be trying to push out videos every week. We are going to start with the books that I don't see enough people talking about and they are underrated because they are unknown, and the first is The Miracles of the Namiya General Store by Keigo Higashino. I think I mispronounced that, but first of all, gorgeous cover, and it is such a special book. I discovered it just while scrolling through, not Goodreads, Book Depository, which closed, and I am so upset about that, but it was one of the first recommendations I got. So The Miracles of the Namiya General Store is about 2 thieves who are on the run, and so they decide to take cover and refuge in an abandoned general store when suddenly a letter comes through, and it's a letter from someone who they eventually realize is from the past, asking for advice. And these letters keep coming through, and the 3 fugitives decide to respond to these letters and give advice to these people who are sending letters from the past. It unravels a whole world of stories and people whose lives are connected in some way or another. This was so well executed. It's such a special novel, and it manages to balance the witty, light, and comical with a lot more serious and deep themes. It was definitely very humorous at times. Obviously, there's something ironic about criminals giving advice to people, but then there were some stories and sections in this book which I was genuinely creeped out. And of course, there is the aspect of magical realism, which I really liked. I didn't even know this was meant to be a magical realism book until it actually happened, which was a good surprise, but I don't know how I didn't clock that because it is mentioned in the synopsis, and you can see a little clock here in the in the C of Miracles on the cover. The next book is Love and Saffron by Kim Fay. So this is a very short epistolary novel, so it's told through a series of letters, and this was so sweet. I read it in one sitting 2 years ago, I think, and it is the kind of book that just pulls at your heart and your taste buds. There's a lot of very delicious dishes and recipes that I actually want to try out in here. It's very light, it's very cozy, but then there are some, like I said, serious themes, and that's kind of a theme you'll see with a lot of these novels here. So Love and Saffron is about this woman who admires from afar this other woman who is a chef, and she writes recipes and talks about food in a magazine. And so one day she reaches out to her with a letter and a jar of her homemade jam, and they start exchanging letters and little recipes, and they don't like send dishes to each other. Obviously they're on different sides of America, but they send, like, for example, some herbs or obviously the jar of jam. It kind of like gives a rule of life, which is that you should accept lots of aspects of life as it comes for you, but then there are times when you can and should take initiative. Okay, next is If Cats Disappeared from the World by Genki Kawamura. So I have heard some people talking about it, but definitely not enough. Again, I think I read this in one sitting. So this is about a man who finds out that he is going to die soon, and he runs back home, and then he finds that there is a copy of himself in his room, and it turns out to be the devil, who looks exactly like him. So there's something philosophical in that. And the devil loves chocolate. He dresses in like Hawaiian shirts. It is meant to be comical. So basically the plot of the novel is that the devil tells this man that you can make something disappear from the world, and every time you do, you get an extra day to live. And so he makes clocks disappear, cinemas disappear. He's asked to make cats disappear, and his cat Cabbage was like the only living being that has stood with this man his whole life. And so he begins to question what is worthy in life and what isn't. Such a unique concept, and like I said, there's some humorous parts that make you just want to roll your eyes, but then the next sentence is just so deep. Next, we have Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Mizuki Tsujimura. Guys, I'm so bad at these names. This, when I first read it, I was gonna give it 5 stars, like off the bat. I was in tears at the end, but then I decided to give it 4 stars, and I have forgotten so much of the plot by now, but I just remember how good this book was. So this is about a girl who's being bullied, and she finds that her mirror is a portal, and she steps into the mirror and she finds that she is outside of this enormous castle, and when she goes in, there's a lot of other people that are her age there. So I was pulled by this gorgeous cover, and it was amazing. It's such a dreamy concept, but there's a lot of relevant and serious topics here. The ending is very emotional. I remember everything about the ending. It's fun, it's adventurous. It was a big inspiration for my own novel, but it is powerful, and it manages to do that in a way that is easy to understand. Next, we have Lizzie Bright and the Buckminster Boys. So this is a classic, and I think it is the most unknown book I have in my library. It is underrated for a reason. I didn't read it thinking, wow, this changed my life, this is amazing. It's definitely a lower grade book that is meant for younger children. This is about the child of a governor who goes to an island, I believe, and this island obviously has its own occupants and native people, but they are forced out by the governor. Obviously, very relevant book. It introduces a lot of serious themes, and we are looking at it through the child's perspective as he develops a relationship with one of the native people of this island, and it is based on a real story. So it was very emotional in that sense. I definitely think it's worth a read. It's a short novel. Even though the writing wasn't amazing, there are some quotes in here that are very, very nice. That is it for the novels that are underrated, as in they aren't spoken about as much. And next we are moving on to novels that are known and are spoken about, but I feel aren't well appreciated or understood to their full extent. And the first, I've spoken about this on my channel before, but The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. So this is about a boy who fails at yet another boarding school, and he runs off and goes to New York. He lives in New York, but he doesn't go back home. He just roams around in hotels and other areas. This is a very hated novel. People do not like this book. I picked it up actually not knowing that it was so hated. I had picked it up because I saw For Esme with Love and Squalor, and I was like, that is a series of unfortunate events reference. Turns out this is like a list of his other novels. So this sat on my shelf for a while because I ended up realizing that it was so hated, but I really enjoyed it. I think that it is misunderstood, and there is a lot to learn from it. It feels like both the characters and New York are discovering adolescence and growth together, and it really appreciates how awkward growing up can be. A lot of people think that it's kind of brute and harsh because the main character Holden like swears a lot and he's very vulgar, but I actually think it is really gentle. I really like the ending. Next, we have Heartless by Marissa Meyer, and this is my favorite fantasy novel. Again, I've heard a few people talking about this, especially on TikTok, which definitely demotivated me. I need to get rid of like prejudices about which books to read and which not to read. So this is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, which is what obviously hooked me. I love Alice in Wonderland, and it is about what made the Red Queen become so evil. So fantastical. There is so much fantasy and wonder here without having that excessive complicated world building that just gives you a headache. The writing style is really easy and light, but it's very impressive and enticing. It's such a good blend of fantasy, love, wonder, baking. There's so much baking in this. I loved it. And the ending was no comment. Next, we have Black Beauty by Anna Sewell. Again, a classic that is well known, especially among maybe older people, but I feel like it's not spoken about as much. A lot of people getting into classics are told to read Little Women or Jane Austen or Anne of Green Gables, and I feel like Black Beauty is one of those books that needs to be with that lot. So Black Beauty follows a horse from when he's very young, and then as he's growing up and passed from owner to owner. I was hesitant because I don't know why I thought I wouldn't like a book that was told from an animal's perspective, whereas I have actually really liked that historically in novels. It's a very easy read. It wasn't intended to be a children's book, but because it is easy to read, it has become that. It's emotional. There's a lot of human questions and qualities in here, despite it obviously being a horse and we're following horses. And the last book is my all-time favorite book and book series. A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. I feel like when I tell people A Series of Unfortunate Events is my favorite books, knowing that I've read great novels like Anna Karenina, I just get crazy looks. But A Series of Unfortunate Events is so much more than a children's book. I'm not going to start going deep into the intricacies because I will just go on and on, but I am genuinely planning to write my uni dissertation on A Series of Unfortunate Events, and it was the opening of my personal statement for unis, and I've already been accepted to a few. So A Series of Unfortunate Events is about 3 children, Violet, Klaus, and Sunny Baudelaire, who go to the beach one day and then find out that their parents and home were burnt to a crisp, and they are sent to live with Count Olaf, who is a distant relative, but Count Olaf just wants their money and their fortune. And as the books go on, there's 13 books in this series. They are passed from owner to owner, and Count Olaf finds them every time. As it goes on, obviously they begin to realize that it is a lot more than just money, and maybe their parents weren't who they thought they were. It's easy to read, it's not easy to understand to its full extent. This is the kind of book that when you start scratching at the surface, there's a whole world of philosophy to discover. Something I say to people initially just to convince them that this isn't just meant to be a typical children's novel is obviously the first line, which is, if you are interested in books with happy endings, you'd be better off reading some other book. Looking at the context, the fact that Daniel Handler, the author, wrote this book out of spite because he was told by his publisher that he wouldn't be allowed or able to write adult novels because he isn't well known enough. He wrote it in a very unconventional manner, and it's very obviously unconventional for a children's novel to be this dark. He himself has said that if he tried publishing it in this day and age, he would probably get spat in the face. That is it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed and have found new recommendations from this. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.